الحمد لله الذي شرع لعباده الصيام لتهذيب نفوسهم وتطهيرهم من الآثام. أحمده وهو مستحق للحمد وأشكره على النعم تزيد عن العد. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له في عبادته كما أنه لا شريك له في الملك. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أتقى من صلى وصام والحج واعتمر وأطاع ربه في السر والجهر. وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار على نهجه وتمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, we are on Yom الإثنين, which corresponds to the day that they call in the calendar of the disbelievers as known as Monday. And the special day about this particular day is that on this day, Yom الإثنين, we're going to learn the importance of fasting. And the importance of fasting on Thursdays as well, Yom الخميس, which corresponds to Thursdays. We're going to learn about the second day and the fifth day, the second day being Monday and the fifth day being Thursday, why we should fast. What is the benefit of fasting during these days? Is it obligatory to fast during these days? We're going to learn about the answer of that as well. Also, what are the benefits of fasting in and of itself? How does it help us out with our health? How does it help us out with our psyche? Okay, how does it help us out with in relationship to regards to our patience? What does it get? What do we gain from fasting? By the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, we're going to first understand that the fasting during the Yom الإثنين, Yom الخميس, which are the proper names in the Islamic calendar that we call the days, which is known as Mondays and Thursdays. It is from the Bab of Tatawwur. And the Bab of Tatawwur, as the scholars explain, is from those deeds which are supererogatory. They are not faridah. They are not an obligation. So this fasting these 2 days, or fasting on Yom الإثنين or fasting on Yom الخميس, it is not obligatory that you fast on these particular days. However, it is from the Bab of Tatawwur. And we know that the believer is the one who does Tatawwur. The believer is the one who does voluntary deeds along with the obligatory deeds. But the believer prioritizes, meaning that the believer starts off with the awwaliyat. The believer makes sure that he or she secures their awwaliyat, their primary things, which are their obligatory deeds. The believer is not one who begins with the supererogatory deeds while their obligatory deeds are shaky. They make sure that they lock down their obligatory deeds, and then they move on in the increasement to doing these supererogatory deeds, as inshallah ta'ala it will help and aid in whatever they fell short in their obligatory deeds. This is what the believers do. So fasting during Thursdays and Mondays, or Mondays and Thursdays, is known as Siyamu Tatawwur. Okay? Siyamu Tatawwur. That means the voluntary or the supererogatory fasting. It has been the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that one should fast during these days. And fasting on the Monday has been more confirmed or affirmed than fasting on Yom الخميس, on Thursday. Alright? So it is the sunnah. It is recommended or legislated within the sunnah, not meaning for as obligatory, but that the person should fast these 2 days from every week. وَقَدَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ ذَلِكَ. And the reason why is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in the hadith where he says, بِأَنَّهُمَا يَوْمَيْنِ تُعْرَضُ فِيهِمَا الْأَعْمَالُ عَلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. He said about these 2 particular days, he says, because both of these days, meaning Yom الإثنين and Yom الخميس, are the days wherein the actions of the servants are presented to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay? He says, قال So then he says, فَأَحَبَّ أَن يُعْرَضْ عَمَلِي وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ. And he said that I prefer that my actions be presented on that day to Allah Azza wa Jal. I prefer that my actions, وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ, meaning the action that I'm doing, meaning fasting. I prefer that if my action is going to be presented to Allah Azza wa Jal on those days, that the act that I do while I am fasting, meaning وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ. This hadith is collected by Ahmed, Abu Dawood, and At-Tirmidhi. Okay, something you need to know about this hadith. As regards to this hadith, then the muhaddithun, the hadith experts, those scholars who specialize in hadith, they differ concerning the authenticity of this particular hadith. There are some of those who grade this hadith to be weak, and there are some of them who grade it to be weak, and they say لا تقوم به حجة. It cannot be used as an evidence. It cannot be used or supported as an evidence. Then from amongst the hadith experts, there are those who grade this hadith to be sahih, to be authentic. Ibn Khuzaymah, just as, or like Ibn Khuzaymah, the great scholar of hadith, Ibn Khuzaymah, he deemed this hadith to be authentic. And from amongst them, there are those who are silent regarding the ruling of this particular hadith. فَلَمْ يَحْكَمْ لَهُ بِالضِّرَابِ وَلَا التَّصْحِيحِ. So there are those who do not place a ruling on the hadith, whether it is authentic or whether it's inauthentic. They do not place anything, they remain silent. He says, وَعَلَى كُلِّ حَالٍ فَإِنَّ الْفُقَهَاءِ اعْتَبَرُوهُ وَاشْتَهِدُوا بِهِ وَاسْتَدُلُّوا بِهِ. At any rate, the scholars of fiqh, of jurisprudence, what they do is they consider it and they use it as a witness and they use it as a evidence. سُئِلَ عَنْ صَوْمِ يَوْمِ الإثنين. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked about fasting on the Yawm al-Ithnain. So before we continue, I want to make it understood that the hadith itself, the hadith we're talking about, is the hadith that we mentioned where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, because these 2 days, بِأَنَّهُمَا يَوْمَيْنِ, okay, فِيهِمَا تُعْرَضُ فِيهِمَا أَعْمَالُ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. In these 2 days, meaning Yawm al-Ithnain or Yawm al-Khamis, Mondays and Thursdays, the actions are raised, the actions of the servants are raised to Allah Azza wa Jal. So this hadith here, the scholars, they differ. Some say that it is weak, you cannot use it as evidence. Some say that it's not weak. Some say that it's authentic, like Ibn Khuzaymah. And then others remain silent concerning it. At any rate, the people of fiqh, they use it. And then he says, وَسُئِلَ عَنْ صَوْمِ يَوْمِ الإِثْنَيْنِ. He says, it was asked, or the Messenger of Allah ﷺ were asked about fasting on Yawm al-Ithnain. They asked the Prophet ﷺ about fasting on the day of Yawm al-Ithnain, the second day. Brothers and sisters, please take the time out to learn the days, the Islamic names of the days, or the Islamic days of the calendar, because it's important. This is going to help you remove yourself from the shirk-infested society which we live in, even down to their calendar, which they use. Monday, Sunday, all of them are named after some Greek god or some Greek, what's the name? Thursday, the god of thunder, Thor. All of these different things are shirk. So look what Allah Jalla wa Ala does. He named the days in number. Yawm Ahad, the first day. Yawm Ithnain, the second day. Yawm Thulatha'i, the third day. Yawm Arba, the fourth day. Yawm Khamis, the fifth day. Yawm Jumu'ah, the day of gathering, okay, which we know as, or corresponds to what they call Friday. Yawm Sept, which is known as Sept. Sept because this was the day, some of the scholars say, the 7th, or it is, it's the 6th, or it deals with the Sabbath that was orchestrated for the Yahud, the Bani Israel. And then we have Yawm Ahad. Tayyib. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was asked about fasting specifically on Yawm al-Ithnain. He said, ذَاكَ يَوْمُ وُلِدْتُ فِيهِ. That was the day in which I was born. I was born on that day. وَبُعِثْتُ فِيهِ. And I was commissioned and sent as a prophet and a messenger. أَوْ أُنزِلَ عَلَيَّ فِيهِ. The revelation was descended or sent down to me on this day. This hadith is collected by Muslim. Okay, this hadith is collected by Muslim in the book of Siyam. Okay, in the book of Siyam, from the hadith of Abi Qatada radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Some of the scholars, they say that if a person wants to celebrate the birthday of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we know that celebrating the Prophet's birthday is haram, and we know that it is a bid'ah, it's innovation, and we know that it has not been sanctioned. But they say if you were going to do anything to celebrate or commensurate the day of the Prophet's birthday, then you would do what the Prophet say here, you would fast. He said, that's the day in which I was born, which I was sent as a messenger or prophet, or revelation was sent down to me concerning that day. This hadith is authentic. Muslim placed it in his Sahih. He says, something important to understand, because even though these 2 days are specified here to fast as tatawwu', these 2 days in and of themselves, brothers and sisters, does not mean you cannot fast any other day of the week. You don't want to get that misconception. You can fast on Yawmul Arba', which corresponds with Wednesday. You can fast on Yawmul Thalatha'i, which corresponds with Tuesday. You can fast on Yawmul Sabt, which corresponds on Saturday. You can fast on Yawmul Ahad, which corresponds on Sunday. But you can fast on Yawmul Jum'ah, but there are conditions. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you fast on Yawmul Jum'ah, la tafarraduhu, meaning don't single it out. Don't fast just on Yawmul Jum'ah, but fast the day before it and on the day of Jum'ah, or fast the day of Jum'ah, fast the day after it. All right? So, but you can fast on any other days. However, these 2 days is specifically mentioned because of the hadith we mentioned before about the deeds being presented to Allah Azza wa Jal. So the Shaykh continues, فَلَيْسَ بِسُنَّةَ عَلَى تَعْيِينٍ. It is not mentioned in the Sunnah that these days, meaning the 4th day and the 3rd day, which is Tuesday or Wednesday, has been made to be singled out to fast. وَإِلَّا فَهُوَ سُنَّةٌ مُطْلَقٌ. Nonetheless, we know that it is still general from the Sunnah to fast. يَسُنَّ الْإِنسَانِ يَقْدَرُ مِنَ الصِّيَامِ. It has been legislated, or it's from the Sunnah, that a person increases, frequently fasts. لكن لا نقول يسن أن تصوم يوم الثلاثاء. However, we do not say to the person that is the Sunnah to fast on the 3rd day, which is known as Tuesday. Okay, ولا يسن أن تصوم يوم الأربعاء, nor on the 4th day, which is known as Wednesday. ولا يكره ذلك. However, it is not disliked if a person does fast on those days. It's just meaning that the Sunnah doesn't encourage you to fast on those days, but it doesn't prohibit you from fasting on those days. If you want to increase the fast on days, you can, but you would not fall under the same thing that the Yom al-Ithnain and Yom al-Khamis actually mentions fasting on those 2 days. And this is something, wallahi, tallahi, wallahi, this is something that many of us, even myself, have neglected throughout the years, have done it, have stopped, have been consistent, have been inconsistent on fasting on these 2 days. And I think we don't understand there are certain characteristics, there are certain things that should never leave the believer. And one of those things, it should be fasting. Fasting is one of the things, and there's many evidence. I can go on and on about a lot of evidence about showing you throughout the biographies of the Prophet ﷺ, those who follow him from the companions with one Allah Ta'ala alayhim, and then those who follow them, and those are the righteous people. They have never left off fasting. They didn't just wait for Ramadan to fast. They did not just wait for Ramadan to fast. They did not just wait for that. Fasting is the shield of the believers. Fasting is the badge, the honor of the believers. Fasting is that thing which the pious person use. We don't fast a lot, but when we want to fast, sometimes we fast because it's a health benefit, or we think it's cool in here. But naturally, we should fast. There are some things that the believers should never leave off. The night prayer is one of them. There are many evidence showing you within the biographies of the, I'm telling you, you can read any biography of any companion right now. They didn't leave off the night prayer. Actually, Ibn Kathir went so far to mention how when the ayat was sent down in Surah Muzammil, which is the 73rd chapter of the Quran, Allah Jalla wa Ala talks about the Inna Rabbaka Ya'lamu Annaka Taqumu. Indeed, your Lord know that you stand up in the night. When this verse was sent down, it was mentioned how they thought that tahajjud or qiyamul layl, as what they used to call it, qiyamul layl, they thought that that night prayer was obligatory. So for a year straight, the campaigns prayed it because they thought it was obligatory to pray, not voluntary. They actually thought it was obligatory, so they prayed it for a year. But Allah mentioned in that verse that Allah has portioned out the night and the day, and He have given their bodies rights over them. Okay, as not to exert yourself or exhaust yourself and doing something that is super volatile. But however, they didn't leave it off. There are certain things that we, if we want to really get the benefits of Al-Islam, if we really want to really own up to the name Muslim, if we really want to own up to the title Mu'min, believer, there are certain things that we will not leave off. If someone write a biography about me, or about you, or about anybody you know, it should not be certain things left off. Your prayer, your night prayer should not be left off. Your witr should not be left off. This is true. Go read the biographies. They didn't leave off witr. They didn't leave off fasting. They didn't leave off night prayer. These things are abandoned or extinct amongst a lot of us. We're not fasting. We're not fasting outside the obligatory fast. Many of us are not fasting outside the obligatory fast. Many of us are not carrying the noble traits that is associated with being a part of this deen. And we wonder why our character is affected. We're going to talk about that, inshallah. So he says, as for Jumu'ah, then it is not the sunnah to fast on that day alone. It is disliked to single it out as a day to fast. And the evidence for that is that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تصوموا يوم الجمعة إلا أن تصوموا يوم قبله أو يوم بعده. This hadith is collected by Bukhari in the book of fasting. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not fast on Yawm al-Jum'ah, except that if you're going to fast, then make sure you fast the day before it or fast the day after it. Ahsant. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith is collected by Muslim, لا تخصوا يوم الجمعة بالصيام ولا ليلتها بقيام. He said, do not specify, goes in detail in this hadith, do not specify and single out Yawm al-Jum'ah for fasting, and nor do not single out its night for Qiyamul Layl. Meaning that I'm only going to pray the night prayer on the night of Friday. That's the only time I'm going to pray it on Jumu'ah. La. You don't single it out. He said, وَأَمَّا السَّبْتِ فَقِيلَ إِنَّهُ كَالْأَرْبَعِ وَثُلَاءِ يُبَاحَ صَوْمُهُ. As far as Yawm al-Sabt, which corresponds to Saturday, he says that it is said about that like it is said about the third and the fourth day, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, that it is permissible to fast. وَقِيلَ إِنَّهُ لَا يَجُوزُ إِلَّا فِي الفَّرِيضَةِ. However, it has been mentioned, there's a position out there that these days should not be fasted on. It is not permissible to fast on those days unless it is obligatory fast. And also been said, إِنَّهُ يَجُوزُ لَكِنْ بِدُونِ إِفْرَادٍ. However, it also has been said, there's another position out there, and this is what the scholars of fiqh do. And by the way, this is Sheikh Uthaymeen, Muhammad bin Salih Al-Uthaymeen, who I wish I had the opportunity to sit up under him, but alhamdulillah, I've been benefiting from his works, whether it's in audio or whether it's from the books that he's written. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make his grave spacious, Ameen. But the Sheikh he mentioned here, and this is what they do. Their style is the fuqaha, because he was from the fuqaha, by the way. He's from the scholars of fiqh. The fuqaha, what they do is when they mention things, they try to give you the mas'ala, they give you the qa'idah, they give you the issue, they give you the principle, and then they give you the surrounding different positions of that issue so that you can get a broader scope of what you're looking at. They don't try to shove down your face one only position, one only thing. They don't do that. They give you like an open board so you can take a look at it. And it's beautiful like that. This way you learn. You learn, inshallah ta'ala, in this way. For those who want to be studious anyway, you'll learn, inshallah ta'ala, how to look at the whole board and not just as one part, or not to be tunnel vision, inshallah ta'ala. He says, and there are the position out there that those that say that no, it is permissible to fast on these days, however, you should not single them out. What is correct? Now, when he say what's sahih, what is correct? The Shaykh is saying what is correct according to his opinion, to the knowledge, and what his research allow him to reach. What is correct is that it is permissible to fast on them days without singling them out. Meaning, إِذَا صَمْتَ مَعَهُ أَحَدْ أَوْ صَمْتَ مَعَهُ جُمْعَةً فَلَا بَأْسَ. وَدَلِيلُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ قَوْلُهُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ لِزَوْجَتِهِ يَتَصُومِينَ غَدًا أي السبت. It's talking about Yawmul Jumu'ah, meaning what? If you fast, okay, if you fast, but then you fast along with it Ahad, meaning you're going to fast on Sunday, okay? Or if you fast, then you fast along with it Jumu'ah, then there's no problem. And the evidence for that is that the Prophet ﷺ, he said to his wife, did you fast? Are you going to fast tomorrow? Do you plan to fast tomorrow? Here you're fasting Saturday, but are you going to fast Sunday? You're fasting Yawm Sabt. Are you going to fast Yawm Ahad? Okay? Aight, meaning As-Sabt. وَأَمَّا الْحَدِيثُ الَّذِي رَوَاهُ أَبُو دَاوُودَ. And he mentioned another hadith that mentioned that there should be no fasting on Yawm Sabt except that if it's an obligation upon it. This hadith is collected by Ahmed and Abu Dawood in his book of Siyam. However, this hadith has been abrogated. Okay? And it's important to understand that the ulama, when they look at the evidence, they're going to bring you the different positions, and then they'll bring you the strongest position or the strongest view that is based off or which the evidence actually support. And Shaykh Uthaymeen is famous for that, for those who read his work. I wanted to mention that as an encouragement to understand the Siyam al-Tatawwu', that fasting on Mondays and Thursdays, and also understanding what's related to that you can fast outside of Mondays and Thursdays, but it's not from the Sunnah to single out those particular days. But certain days you should not fast alone. You should fast the day before or the day after it. La bas. Now I want to get to the meat of this talk. The meat of this talk now is because we're talking about fasting. Okay, and we mentioned the benefits of fasting on Mondays and Thursdays. The actions of the servants are being raised to Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَأَحَبَّ أَن يُعْرَضَ عَمَلِي وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ. I like that while I am fasting, that my actions are being presented to Allah. I like that I am fasting. Look at the Prophet ﷺ. He looked at a deed as a way of getting taqarrub, as getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. He said that I like that my actions, while I am fasting right now, be presented to Allah. While I am doing something good, I want Allah Jalla wa Ala to accept my deed. And this is how we should be. We should want to be in a good standing with the Creator. You understand? We should want to be in a good standing with Allah Azza wa Jalla. We should feel happy about doing good deeds. We should feel pleased about doing good deeds. Not like we feel pleasure when we do an ill deed. You see the difference? We take a momentarily pleasure. It's momentarily. We take a pleasure, as Ibn Abbas so eloquently put it, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. He said that that the sin is worse than the one who do the sin. It is worse than the one who hides the sin. It is worse than the one who feels a certain type of way that he couldn't commit the sin. It is worse than the one who feels that he didn't get a chance to cover up or hide or expose or enjoy the sin. This is worse than doing the sin itself. Think about that. You fall into a prohibited act, or you fall into neglecting the command of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay? But you feel some type of way because you couldn't fall into that prohibited act. You wanted to smash shorty. You wanted to get it in with her. You understand? Y'all was getting ready to get it in. It was set up, and this and that. For some reason or another, you wasn't able to carry out that evil deed. Right? You really feel some type of way. The next day, you're like, SubhanAllah. And it's crazy. You're Muslim. You're like, SubhanAllah. Man, I didn't even get a chance to get with her. That's worse than if you would have got with her. That's what the Sheikh is saying. Sheikh Ibn Abbas is something. This is worse. I'm talking about Sheikh Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, which is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, not Sheikh Ibn Abbas. Okay? Ibn Abbas is telling you in regards to this, that is worse. That you really feel some type of way that you couldn't carry out the sin. And some of us are sick like that. We are sick like that. We take pleasure in doing that which is not permissible. But when it comes to doing deeds are permissible, the signs of the munafiq, and may Allah protect us from hypocrisy, is that we see those deeds to be heavy. They thiqal. You understand? They're heavy, as Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran about the salat. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, "Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salat, wa innaha lakabirun illa ala khashi'un." Right? Allah mentioned it, that it is only heavy and difficult. It's not going to be difficult upon people who have khashya, but it's going to be difficult upon people who don't. They're going to see it as a burden. I got to do this. They don't come to it really rejoicing. La, we supposed to be happy when doing a good deed. A good deed is supposed to turn you on. Yes. A good deed is supposed to turn you on. This is for your curious. If you're finding yourself not happy when you're doing a good deed, and you're just doing it as a formality, or you think you're just doing it as an obligation just to get it out of the way, then something is wrong with your iman, and you're not approaching that good deed in the right spirit. And you have to check that, because it's also an indication of nifaq, of hypocrisy. All right. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to be in a good standing with Allah Azza wa Jalla. So the Shaykh, he mentioned, he says, فَإِنَّ الصِّيَامَ مِنْ أَنْفَعِ عِبَادَاتٍ وَأَعْظَمُهَا آثَارٌ فِي التَّطْهِيرِ النُّفُوسِ وَتَهْذِيبِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I want you to understand something about fasting, that there's nothing like it. All right, we already have a hadith that support that this is the only action that Allah have saved the reward of it to Himself. It is the only action that the servant can do, that he can say that he done it for the sake of Allah and no one else. This is the only action that a person can perform and know that he did this action for Allah's sake only. Do you understand this? Do you ever want a deed that you know is guaranteed accepted? You ever want a deed that you know that is guaranteed 100% Allah's sake, me and Mia? This is this deed. Fasting is that. Fasting is a deed that is 100% sure that you did it for Allah's sake. Do you understand this? Allah Jalla wa'ala said that fasting I save for me. All the actions of the son of Adam, okay, I reward. But as for fasting, I save for me. Because this meaning that he gave up, Allah Jalla wa'ala said he gave up his drinking. He gave up a desire for drink. He gave up a desire for food. He gave up a desire for lust. Right? Even if it's in a lawful way, because lust still is lust. But it can be done in a lawful way, with your legal spouse. But he gave up all of this, his shahwa. He gave all of that up for my sake. Allah says this in the hadith. Not me. For my sake. So if you want to know a deed that you can do that can be specifically for Allah's sake, and you don't got to question it, fast. But look what the Shaykh says here. He said that this fasting in and of itself, it does two things. I want you to pay attention now. It is a purifier. Fasting is a purifier. He said, pay attention. He said, tathhirun nufus. It purifies the soul. Okay? And if the soul is purified, brothers and sisters, what does that mean? The heart is purified. And if the heart is purified, what does that mean, brothers and sisters? That means the body and the limbs is purified. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَإِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةٌ. He said that there is a piece of flesh that's in the body. إِذَا صَلَحَ صَلَحَ جَسَدَ كُلُّ. If it is correct, if it's pure, if it's wholesome, then the whole body is wholesome. وَإِذَا فَسَدَ فَسَدَ جَسَدَ كُلُّ. And if it is corrupt, if it is spoiled, if it is evil, if it is poison, then the whole body is poison. أَلَا هِيَ الْقَلْبِ. And then he said, indeed, it is the heart. So, if the soul is purified, that means the heart is purified. If the heart is purified, that means the rest of the limbs is purified. If you see an individual acting and behaving in an ill manner, in a repugnant manner, for what comes out of his or her mouth, or what comes out of his or her mouth is only an expression with what is in his or her heart. Ahsan. Right? That's what it means. Think about that. A person giving you a taste of what's in their mouth is only what's a taste in their heart. And if what they speaking out of their mouth is repugnant, and this is why we're supposed to dislike bad deeds. I mean, the problem is we don't dislike bad deeds because our hearts are it's contaminated. It's not wholesome. If you had a wholesome heart, you're not going to like it. It's just ain't going to happen. It don't mix. Person telling you, yeah, I'm upon the aqeedah of the Salaf, but it got a horrible character. That don't mix. Wallahi al-azim, it don't mix. It's a contradiction. You're saying your character cannot be improved unless it's improved through Aqidah. Your Aqidah must be sound. And if your Aqidah is sound, that deals with the heart, by the way, if you don't know. The rule of that of Aqidah deals with the heart. So if the heart is sound, that means the action, the limbs. What did the Prophet ﷺ say was the king of the limbs? He said it was the heart. He said the heart is the king of the limbs. So if your Aqidah, your i'tiqad is here, this is why the Prophet ﷺ said in that beautiful hadith about brotherhood and sisterhood, what did he say? What did he say about it? He said, at-taqwa ha-huna. He said 3 times. He said, at-taqwa ha-huna. He said it 3 times. At-taqwa ha-huna. He said that what? Taqwa is here. It's not on your prayer. It's not on how you make yourself look in front of others publicly. It's not how you fly, you can make your mouth sound. You know, all of that is nothing. Taqwa huna, a person's heart, and how they behave and act is an indication how their heart is. We need to understand this. Jibril came down, alayhi salatu salam, and he cleansed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam heart. Do you detox? So this is a real beneficial question I have to ask myself, and I ask all of you. Do you detox? You have to detox. What do detoxing mean? You have to get rid of all of the unnecessary poison from your body, from your soul, and from your what? Your blood. What's my proof? As far as the body, you detox and get rid of the poison because of what you must get, as waste movement is a part of that. Making sure what you eat, guarding what you eat, and making sure you get that stuff out. Colon cleanse, your prostate glands, all of that stuff. You're getting rid of all of that bad, toxic stuff that you put in your body from the fast food, from stuff that you eat that's unhealthy, that's destroying you. You remove it. Now, as far as the soul, you're going to use the Quran and the Sunnah. You're going to use fasting as well. Fasting actually incorporates all three of these, by the way. But you're going to use the Quran and the Sunnah as a purifier for the soul. Okay? What are you going to use for the bad blood? You're going to use what the Prophet ﷺ tells us to do. Cupping. It's from the Sunnah to get cupped. Why do you get cupped? To remove the bad blood. You just think you're going to have this wholesome blood all your life. No, you're going to have bad stuff that's going to be in you, that's going to fester. You got to constantly clean yourself. And if you have to do that, why do you think the Prophet said what? He said about Iman, he said, "Yujaddidu imanakum." He said, renew your Iman. What did he say about Iman? He said, renew your Iman. With the constant statement of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, because Iman, he said in one narration, it get worn out like a garment. Your Iman. If you think you're going to leave your Iman dormant, I said I believe and that's it. La. Look at fasting. He says that one, it purifies the soul. Okay? And the soul is connected, like we said, to three different things. The soul, the heart, and the limbs. If the soul is correct, the heart is correct, and the limbs. That's important. Then he says, وَتَهْذِيبُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Fasting, you want to have good character, you'll fast. If you are a person that's looking to have good character, then one of the signs of a person having good character is a person who fasts. He said, وَتَهْذِيبُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. It disciplines the character. When you fast, there's certain things you must do when you're fasting. There's certain things you cannot participate when you're fasting. It puts you in a certain state. This is the beauty of it, right? He says, فَمِنْ فَوَائِدِهِ. And from the benefits of fasting alone is that يُسَبِّبُ تَقْوَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. It is the reason that a person can gain and earn taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. تَتَّقُونَ. Allah says, oh, you who believe, fasting has been prescribed for you as it's been prescribed for those who came before you from the previous nations. So that you do what? So that you can have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. You want to get closer to Allah, do not eat on a full stomach. When you at your full stomach, you're not closer to Allah. Do you know that? Do you know that eating too much distance you from Allah, not bring you closer to Allah? I mean, I don't think people understand that. Do you know that sleeping too much distance you from Allah, not bring you closer to Allah? Do you know that? Do you understand this? Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentioned that there are 4 things that cause the heart to become hard. Sleeping too much, enjoying your desire too much, sexual engagement too much, right? You got some people who are sex addicts. They can't help themselves. There's some people who are promiscuous, whether they've been molested or not. Even though it's signs that many people who have been molested at early ages, they become promiscuous and stuff like that. But still, you have people who are sex addicts. They have a disease. Constantly want to get it in. No better than an animal, right? Every time you engage in these desires and not in a balanced way and not in a restrained way, then what you're going to find yourself doing is distance yourself from the Creator. But the way you get closer to the Creator is by removing yourself from these desires. So you take what you need. Do you understand that? You take what you need. If you look at the Prophet ﷺ life, he didn't never eat to his full. Never. There's not one narration that mentioned the Prophet ﷺ ever ate till his stomach was full. How do we eat? Our joint be up here. Tell the truth, because I know our joint be on here. We eat to our full. You see it? We eat to our full. He never ate to his full. First of all, he never even ate meat like that. Not saying it's impermissible to eat meat, but he didn't even eat meat like that. There were days, as Aisha read the ayah, said that we survived on 2 black dates. That was waters and dates. Can you survive on waters and dates? Huh? You can, but would you try? There were things that the Prophet ﷺ did, and even his companions, they never took that full. Imagine that mindset. So now when you say that Allah placed barakah in something, do you know what the scholars say when they say that when Allah placed barakah in something? Whenever Allah placed barakah in something, whether it's time, whether it's food, whether it's provisions, whether it's a woman, whether it's a man, whenever Allah placed barakah in something, the ulama have explained that Allah makes the person suffice. He makes that thing suffice for the person. It's enough. It's enough. Contentment. How do you gain contentment? And I don't really want to go too far in this, but you gain contentment in being sufficed. That's how you gain contentment. Being content with what you have, even if it's little. That's how you gain it. That's how you gain it. That's how the Prophet ﷺ did it. Always suffice. Look at his life. Laying down on a hard date palm tree. He never laid on beds like we lay on right now, man. Look at the beds we lay on. My bed, I can show you my match. This is why the night prayer ain't my friend. You see the difference? You want to know why the night prayer ain't your friend? You went and got that nice soft mattress, didn't you? You went and laid on a nice soft mattress. The Prophet ﷺ didn't lay on a nice soft mattress, man. You get it? When you went and got that soft mattress and you laying on that bed, you don't want to get up. It hardens your heart. Now you understand the wisdom why he didn't lay on stuff like that. The Prophet ﷺ, he was looking ahead. He knew that this wasn't the home. He knew that the paradise was the home. He knew that there was a paradise. He really believed that there was a paradise. His actions confirmed that. He knew that Allah Jalla wa Ala told him that in reality what? Innal akhiratu khayrun min al-ula. He really understood that. When Allah told him that really the next life is better than the first and former life that you're in right now. And when he understood that, and when his companions emulated him in that, and when the Tabi'een emulated them in that, and when the Tabi'een emulated them in that, this is why you see that they were the best generations. We have placed our desires and our animalistic nature above what we're supposed to do. This goes with this talk, because fasting is to come to put your desires in check. You want to get taqarrub to Allah? Fast. You can't get married? Fast. You want to save money? Fast. You want to live frugal? Fast. You want to think pure? Fast. You want to have better akhlaq? Fast. Allahumma musta'an. Do you see this? Fasting does all of that. Just fasting. It says here, he said also, فَصِيَامُ يَدْخُلُ عَبْدَ فِي خَطِيرَةِ التَّقْوَى الَّتِي هِيَ فِعْلًا مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ وَتَرَكَ مَا نَهَى عَنْهُ. He said the fasting, it enters the servant into what? It enters the servant into the footsteps of حَظِيرَةِ التَّقْوَى, into that realm of taqwa. And not the footsteps, but to the realm of taqwa, which is, because some of the scholars have defined taqwa to mean carry out that which Allah has commanded you and stay away from that which Allah has prohibited you. How hard is that for us? Why you think a servant can't carry out what Allah commands and stay away from what Allah prohibits? What you think the main thing that stops a servant from doing that? Do you understand what that is? That's called hawa. I want you to understand it. You have to understand things. You have to understand them. Not just the definitions, but you have to understand what they mean. Why are they here? Do you know that there's a verse in the Quran that Allah tells you He give you the emotions that you got? Do you know that there's a surah called Surah Najm, which in Surah Najm, the 53rd chapter of the Quran, Allah Jalla wa Ala tells you He's the one that made you cry. He gave you that emotion to cry. He gave you the emotion to laugh, to enjoy. He is the one who gave you the emotions that you have. Do you know that this is in the Quran? He gave you these different things. Do you understand why they are there? When you say you understand your purpose, then you understand this. This is understanding your purpose. Understanding the reason behind certain things so that you can move a certain way. Your Hawa blocks you from doing what Allah commands you to do. Your Hawa pushes you to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibit you from. This is why your taqwa is to fight that. It's a shield against that. And the best thing that you can combat Hawa with is fasting. Why? Because fasting incorporates, it embodies, it embolds sabr. Sabr is restraint. They say called habasa an-nafs. It's a habasa an-nafs. It restrains the soul. It restrains the soul from what? What is it restraining from? Engaging and partaking in its desires. That's what fasting does. That's what you need it for. Everybody keep talking about, I'm this, I feel depressed, I feel inactive, I feel down, I feel distressed, I feel this. But no one is looking at what the Creator gave you. Did you ever look at what the Creator gave you? He sent down a book that alleviates all of that. You ever know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remedy is for distress? For sadness? For hopelessness? For despair? For depression? Do you know what Allah's remedy for it is? It ain't a pill. It ain't going to another human being. You want to know what it is? It ain't, matter of fact, it ain't even nothing from the dunya. Allah didn't give you any remedy to remove those things from you that is from the dunya. Actually, He gave you something that is connected to Himself because He's the only one who can remove it. That's what it was. Whatever you go through in this life, He's the only one who can remove it, so He connected to Himself. Guess what He told you to do? Dua. Look in the Fortress of Muslim right now, and I want you to go inside the Fortress of Muslim if you can. I want you to go, just check it out. Look how many du'as or ada'iyas there is for distress, for depression, for anxiety, for such and such, for such and such. There is a du'a that is orchestrated for everything. What is du'a connected to? You placing your reliance on Allah. Why did Allah connect it to it? Because Allah is the only one who can remove it. That's it. And you don't understand it. You need the connection with Him. He's the only one who can remove it. This is why the Prophet ﷺ didn't have to worry about nothing. He was connected to Allah. You ever hear Allah console the Prophet in the Quran? Do you listen to what He say to the Prophet? Do you listen to what He say to the Prophet ﷺ? Allah said what? They're not denying you, O Muhammad. They're denying my ayats. Why would Allah shift the gaze and the perspective from the Prophet ﷺ like that? Because He wanted the Prophet ﷺ to understand that you are doing your job. And that is to convey. I didn't give you the ability to change or control anyone. And whenever we step in the realm of wanting to control another person's actions, then we are stepping in the realm of Allah's divinity. And that's going to fight back, and it's going to blow back against us. And what it's going to do is going to cause us to become frustrated. It's going to cause us to become angry. It's going to cause us to become discontent. It's going to cause us to become unhappy. It's going to cause us to become sad. It's going to cause us to become depressed. It's going to cause us to have anxiety because we are trying to control something we have no business controlling in the first place. Don't you understand? This is what it's for. We really need to know what the Quran is for and the Sunnah is for. The Prophet ﷺ made it clear. He said there's no disease on the face of the earth except that Allah sent down the cure. So if it's a disease that is naturally from Allah, He sent down the cure for it. Bottom line. And he finished, I don't want to go too long. It says here, look what he said. He said, فَيَقِي بِذَلِكَ نَفْسُهُ مِنَ النَّارِ وَمِنْ جَمِيعٍ مِنَ الْخَوَاوِثِ. Look what he said here, man. This is important. He says that fasting protects the individual. With fasting, by way of fasting, it protects the individual from the fire. As the Prophet ﷺ reported in authenticated hadith, he said that he who fasts, and every time that he fasts, this particular fast, it removes his face from the fire 70 years. Think about that. After hearing this talk, or even after reading the benefits, not me speaking, but after hearing the benefits and the ayats and the hadith, it shouldn't be nowhere in the world me and you should never fast. It shouldn't be nowhere in the world while fasting is a part of our life. Don't you see what it does? It protects you from the fire 70 years. Every time you fast, it's taking your face away from the fire 70 years in distance, man. Not only that, it's protecting you from everything else that you fear. The main thing that Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us in the Quran, I want you to pay attention. Allah tells us in the Quran what shaitan used to try to threaten you with. There are verses that are specifically that Allah mentions what the shaitan tried to threaten you with. And guess what they are? Allah said, يَعِيدُكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ بِوَهْ بِالْفَقْرِ. The shaitan tried to threaten you with poverty. That's one aspect. What is another one? What is another one? Surah Ali Imran, what did Allah Jalla wa Ala say? The shaitan threatened you, يُخَوِّفُكُمْ. Allah said that the shaitan, يُخَوِّفُكُمْ, he tried to make you be afraid. He tried to cause fear in your heart. But when you walk with Allah, there is no fear. There is no grief. There is no this. When you really walking with Allah, when you really shedding your desires, when you're really gaining closer to Allah, there is none of those things. But you are afraid of your own shadow because you are living in your hawa. You see? You are not living closer to the Creator. Commanding the good, forbidding the evil. What causes us to do that? Repressing the hawa. You ever wonder why people can't go out and command the good, forbidden the evil? Because they know they are the biggest ones that are succumbing to the desire, so they don't want to go out and call nobody else to. Don't you see how it's connected? This is how it's all connected. You want to know how the companions was able to do what they did? Look what Umar ibn Khattab told his commanders. What did he tell his commanders? He said, look, when you go fight and you go call these people to the way of Allah Azza wa Jal, and when you fight and you go call them, invite them to the way of Allah, and before you jihad, make sure you don't do such and such. You don't drink. Make sure that you don't commit adultery. Make sure you don't do X, Y, and Z. Why is he telling them not to do that? He mentioned it. He said, don't do that because you don't want to do the same deeds for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is humiliating these people by even sending you to rectify their affairs. So if you do the same thing that they're doing, you're going to be lowly just like them, and you're going to be subjected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala torment and humiliation. So you have to remove yourself from that in order to be a beacon. You see? So you can't call people to what's good. You can't command people and stay away from what's evil if you fall in it and subject it to yourself, into your own hawa. You don't feel right doing it. You have to remove your hawa. You have to restrain it. Hawa is there. Allah gave it to us, but there's a certain way that it must be approached. There's an inclination. And you have to understand, just because you get an enjoyment from hawa, it doesn't mean that the enjoyment might be good for you. 9 times out of 10, it might not be good for you. It might be a momentary relief that you think it is, but it might cause you a long-time pain. You understand? We ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to forgive us and make me better than what you think of me. I need this more than you need. This is therapy for me, inshallah. But as he mentioned in here, he says, at the end, he says here, he says, أَنَّهُ يَكْسِبُ عَبْدَ خَيْرَ كَثِيرًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَآخِرَةٍ. This is what also the benefits of fast, that it allows the servant to obtain and reach and acquire many benefits both in this world and the next. He says, Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. He said, and fast, this is better for you. إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, if you do not know. ومن فوائد الصيام, and from the benefits of fasting, أنه يعود الإنسان الصبر والتحمل والجد. لأنه يحمل الإنسان ترك مألوفه وشهوته على طواعية الاختيار. And this is the crux. This is the crux, brothers and sisters. He says, from the benefit is that it trains and accustoms the person's soul to have patience. And the ulama, they were so detailed in defining patience for us, because patient, you have to understand what patient is. It's mentioned over 90 times in the Quran. Patient is an armor. You have to understand that's what it is. It is literally an armor. And this is why when you hear the scholars say that the only way you want to defeat the shaitan, the only way you're going to defeat your enemy, the only way you're going to defeat this is with knowledge, that is true. But you have to arm yourself. How can knowledge become an armor? You have to understand what is the armor part from it. Allah sent down iron. Iron is not even from this world. He got a whole surah called Surah Hadid, and he mentioned it in that surah that the iron, the Hadid comes from the heavens. But what is this thing that you use to protect yourself? Sabr is one of them. Sabr is a cure. You don't even know. Sabr is a cure. You don't even know. Depression is fought with sabr. Anxiety is fought with sabr. Distress is fought with sabr. Pay attention what's fought with sabr. What is gained with sabr? Okay? Anything you want. The Prophet ﷺ said, what did he say? Ma'a sabri yusra. Or he said, ma'a sabri, what did he say? Ma'a sabri farja. There's relief. And then he said, ma'a sabri nusra. There is victory with sabr. You gain victory with sabr. Sabr is an armor. And it's so detailed that it's broken down into 3 categories. And if you understand these categories and you realize these categories and you really try to understand them, guarantee you when you start practicing sabr in your life, watch how easy you will be. Right now, we all living and we subjected into what we call the type of economy that we in and the type of world that we live in right now. We live in a world where it's to and fro, it's too busy. Why it's too busy like that? Because everybody is running around. You can't stand still. The only thing that's going to give you that calmness, the only thing that's going to give you to be able to stand still is that peace of tranquility. And the only way you're going to achieve that tranquility, you're going to have to ward off your desires with sabr. You're going to have to ward off certain things with sabr. This is why Allah Jalla wa Ala said is wahadda. This is what he said about sabr. He said wahadda. It is a great, extreme hadda azim. It's tremendous. If you can acquire it, and also you can't acquire it unless Allah help you. As Allah said in the Quran, فَمَا صَبْرُكَ إِلَّا صَبْرُ. Allah, you cannot gain sabr unless Allah grants you that sabr. Sabr is really hard to gain. You ever think about it? Say for example, you want to exact revenge on your enemy. I'm not telling you to do this, and you had, an altercation. If you react off your anger right then and there, hot-headed and everything, there's going to be so many things that's going to cause you to be at a disadvantage and then an advantage with your enemy. But if you were to have sabr, and you was to wait it out, and you was to plot and plan, and you was to move level-headed and not angry, it would give you more advantages over your enemy than it would give you disadvantages, right? But you don't understand sabr. The best way to understand sabr, the scholars explain that it is something bitter to taste. The taste of sabr is bitter. It don't taste good. That's like when you taste, you have to take a medicine or eat a certain type of vegetable. Like, ew, that's nasty, like beets or something like that. You ever taste like celery and all this different stuff that's good for you? Taste it like, it's really nasty, but it's really good for you, right? That's how sabr is. The taste of it is real bitter, but the outcome of it is so sweet. It's so sweet. You can be poor, and if you have sabr, you're better than anyone else. Think about it. You can be impoverished, financially in a strait, but if you have sabr, you're better than anyone else. Because the person who got money and don't have sabr can lose the money, can be running around here with his head cut off. He's not content. He's dissatisfied. He or she is not pleased. Blah, blah, blah. But you got sabr and you just sitting there. They're like, bro, you didn't even know where your next meal coming from, but you got sabr. Sabr, as they said, I don't want to get too long. He says sabr is, and that's a class in and of itself. He says sabr is, real quick, the first category is sabr upon the obedience of Allah. To understand obeying Allah Jalla wa Ala, you have to understand obeying Allah Jalla wa Ala comes with certain things. As Sheikh Muhammad Wahab mentioned, that the understanding of obeying Allah has to be based upon love. You have to have love. Hub has to be there. You have to love doing what Allah commands you to do. And the only way to gain that love, you have to know it through Allah's names, His attributes, His actions, and learn about His essence. Knowing about His names and attributes teach you about His essence. Learn about His af'aliyah, learn about His actions, also teach you about who Allah is. You're going to have to learn this type of stuff in order to love what Allah commands you. It should never be a case where you're doing a command because it's a command. You should love to do a command. We have to graduate to that state. There are many verses in the Quran where Allah Jalla wa Ala said the believers are only those when Allah and His Messenger call them, we submit and we obey. The believers are only those who carry out this. The believers are only those who do this. It's showing you that the believers love to do what Allah commands them. They love to respond when Allah and His Messenger gives them a command. You have to love the command. This is how you love obedience, but you have to be patient upon it now. How do you remain patient upon? You have to restrain yourself. You have to restrain yourself from falling or going outside of the bonds of that acts of obedience. You have to become content with that thing. You ever wonder why a person can't be with another person that is righteous? Some people always say this to themselves. You ever notice? You'll say, but Dad, why the sister don't like the religious brother? Or why the brother don't like the religious sister? You ever understand why? It's only one thing why they don't. It's called hawa. If A religious brother and a religious sister is trying to get closer to the Creator by restraining their desires, because that's the only way you're going to get to Him, by restraining your desires and making sure you're firmly convicted in your King. Okay? So if the believer is doing that, then the person who is non-religious, they are running rampant with their desires. They don't got control over it. They don't have reign over it. So there's going to be a clash because they want to engage in their desires. So you're boring to them because you don't want to. You're restraining your desires. You're not saying that desires are all bad. You're not saying that we can't do this, but you have a time and you have a limit and you have legislations and you have parameters and you have boundaries that don't allow you to go here or there. And that's too much for someone whose desires control them. That's too much for them. So you are boring to them. They don't find you interesting, but they find the haram interesting because that's where their heart is at. You have to understand all this stuff. The next one is being patient upon the law of disobedience, meaning restraining yourself from doing that which Allah. And the third one, which is the best and which is my favorite one, that which will help you get me through a lot. And if you really understand the third category of sabr, it's going to help you get through a lot. And that is relinquishing the control to Allah. Being patient upon those things which you cannot control. You understand that? Whatever you don't have control over, you should not build anxiety for. You should not feel stress over. You should leave it to Allah. Stop acting like Allah is a genie or something, man. Stop acting like Allah is really not there. Like some of us in our actions, we act like He's really not there. Like we think that He's supposed to only be there to give. We don't understand that Allah is really there. He sees you. This is why ihsan is the highest level in the deen. What did the Prophet say Islam? What did he say ihsan was? What did he say? أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. That's what he says. He says it is to worship Allah Jalla wa Ala as if you see Him. That's one path, because it got two parts. And if you cannot achieve that state, then you should know that He sees you. Right? Sheikh Fawzan said that the second part is greater than the first part. But look what I'm saying. This is what you want to achieve. This is the ultimate level you want to reach in Islam. It's ihsan. You want to worship Allah like He's there. You really believe He's there. You really believe He got your back. You ain't got no doubts. A person that reached ihsan don't got no room in his heart for doubts. There's no doubt in your heart whatsoever about Allah. Everything around you proves that He exists. Everything around. This is why the believers is the ones who take heed to the signs. This is why the non-believers don't take heed to the signs. Everything around you proves to you that Allah exists. Your ear, your breathing, you're seeing, you're speaking, you're touching, you're tasting, you're smelling, you're grasping, you're walking, you're sleeping. Everything around you. Everything. Okay? Everything. The perfect harmony of the earth, oxygen, the sun, the moon, all of these things proves to you that Allah exists, but yet you still need to get banged in the head to act like He doesn't. If He's the one who makes sure the night don't outstrip the day, what makes you think He's going to let your enemy overcome you? He's the one that makes sure the sun get up every day. Matter of fact, the sun don't make sure that the sun get up. He's the one who paced that deer like that. If He's the one who makes sure the sun raises up every day, there's going to come a time when the sun is going to be thrown, by the way. It's going to lose its light. But if He is the one who does that, what makes you He's not going to take care of you? He's the ones who make sure that the moon runs the way that it does. He the one to make sure that everything runs. He says in the Quran, I love the Quran. He says in the Quran that He not made it a burden or responsibility upon any of us to feed the animals on the earth. Allahu Akbar. He did not make it upon us to feed the wildlife. We don't even have to go out there and make sure that the wildlife live. That's not even on us. The animals in the ocean, that we have some animals we never set eyes on, that never came to the surface, the top of the surface, because the ocean is so deep. We are not responsible for them. So if He's the same Creator that is taking care of all of that, you think He's going to stop with you? That He's not going to take care of you? Our belief got to reach this stage, man. If it reached this stage, we're unstoppable. That's how the companions was. Come on, the king told The Quraysh caught him. The Quraysh caught him, man. He went back. The Quraysh caught him. They was went to go execute him. He said, can I just make two? I just want to make 2 units of prayer. He ain't cried. He ain't do nothing. He said, I just want to make 2 units of prayer before you kill me. 2 units of prayer. It was astonishing. It was breathtaking to the Quraysh at this time. They thinking that a person in this position is going to try to plead and beg their case to get out of what they own. All they wanted him to do was to forsake the deen that he said he was following. But he really believed that Allah exists. Not like you and I. We say we believe Allah exists, but we got doubt. The cops lock us up, it's doubt. Our car break down, is doubt. You know what I mean? We go into a bad patch, it's doubt. We go through a breakup, it's doubt. Tell the truth. It's doubt. It's doubt in the law. When everything, something in the world go crashing down on you, lose your child, it's doubt. Think about it. You got bad health, it's doubt. All this creates doubt for you. But this companion, he was told to give up his deen. That's what he was told. And he chose to keep his deen and lose his life in the process. But all he asked is to make 2 units of prayer. And guess how he made the 2 units of prayer? He didn't even prolong them. He didn't even make 2 long units of prayer to even enjoy just a little bit moment in life. He didn't even do that. He made them swift. He made the 2 units of prayer swift. Like, you know how you pray at your job? We're told and instructed when we pray at our job, so we have to give the haq to our employer, that we not make our prayer long. You know what I mean? We don't make it too speedy, but we don't make it real long or anything like that. So we pray at a reasonable time. He prayed the prayer swift. Boom, boom. That was it. That's content, man. That's a level of conviction I'm trying to get to. You understand what I'm saying? That's the conviction that you're trying to get to. You want to understand these men were humans, but you keep thinking that they were super. The only reason why they were super because it was the taqwa. It was the conviction. It was that raised them to them levels. All you have to do is do the same, and you'll be up here. You will be up here. That's why fasting is important. We have to start fasting more. We have to start encouraging one another to fast more. Please, Ya Allah, make us of the Sa'imun. Oh Allah, make us of the Sa'imun. There is a door in heaven, Ya Ikhwa, wa Akhawat. There is a door in heaven that only the fasting people will enter. Fasting have to be a part of our lives. Not just intermittent fasting, not just this fasting for health benefits. Fasting, and last but not least, I wanted to mention something to you. Fasting cover all 3 aspects. I wanted to mention that to you, inshallah ta'ala. Fasting cover all 3 aspects that I told you about before, about the soul, about the heart, and about the body. Fasting covers that. Fasting protects, it gives nutrients to the soul. As we see, taqwa is from those things that neutralize the soul. As we see that it helps out with the characteristics of, it gives you noble characteristics and traits. All right. As far as the heart, fasting does for the heart, it gives the heart a piece of conviction. It gives the heart certainty. It gives the heart a piece of calmness, tranquility. It gives the heart contentment. Okay. It places this ease inside the heart. Fasting also, it benefits the body. And there's many health nutrients. All the doctors explained that and talked about how fasting is real beneficial for you. And it also helps you against poverty and things like that. You actually can save money if you fast. You really can save money if you fast. So that remember that the deeds are being presented to Allah Jalla wa Ala on Thursday and Monday. And we want to try to emulate the Prophet ﷺ. He said, فَأَحَبَّ أَن يُعْرَضْ. He said that I prefer that my deeds, amali wa ana sa'im, be presented to Allah while I'm fasting, so I can be in a good standing with my Lord. So hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, I myself encourage myself first of all, and I encourage you guys, fast more. If you can't fast Mondays and Thursdays out of every week, fast only Monday. Fast one day out of a week. Start somewhere. If you can't fast, because fasting Monday is more stronger than fasting Thursday. But if you can fast Yom Khamis and Monday, alhamdulillah. If you can do that, then that's cool. If you can fast just one day of the week, that's good. But try to fast. Also, there are other fasts like fasting the three white days. That's the 14th, 15th, and I believe that's the 13th, 14th, and 15th of every month. Islamic month, by the way. And you can fast those days, and they can help you out. But we have to get into fasting. Last but not least, I also want to remind you of something. Fasting has many multiple manifestations and many parts to it. When you fast, the best fast you can do is that you have to understand fasting is not just fasting, abstaining from food, drink, and sexual desires. That's one portion of fasting, okay? The fasting you want to do and incorporate is the spiritual fasting as well. You want to remove yourself from listening to anything that might be harmful. You want to remove yourself from looking at anything that might be harmful, and you want to stay away from talking, backbiting, or namim and things like that, because this always helps your character out and things like that. You want to stay away from those type of things that will harm your fast on those type of levels, as well as staying away from those things that you can't eat, drink, or whatever. And watch your life change, man. If we just start doing those things, we're going to change. Watch, we're going to become Muslims like we say that we want to be. We're going to really become Muslims. When you're a fasting person, it's going to change your life. It's going to change your life, inshallah. So, inshallah, encourage one another to fast. Encourage your household to fast. Again, be gentle, be gentle, be gentle. Allah in the Quran is gentle with us when He commands us to do something, even in the command. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she pointed this out in the hikmah of Allah Jalla wa Ala dealing with us. She said, have Allah started with the prohibitions before He started with the commands, no one would have done it. But Allah have gave us proper cultivations by starting with those things that soften our hearts and the tawheed and giving our love and the connection to Him, so that when He came with the prohibitions, we were able to follow them. So, be gentle. Be gentle. If you got a loved one, you got a spouse, you got a family member, you got a cousin, or you got a relative, you got a friend or something like that that's Muslim, and they are struggling with certain things of their deen, and you want to encourage them, the best way you have to encourage them, you have to practice patience as well, and you have to be gentle. Just because you know somebody don't mean gentleness go out the door. That don't mean that. That's because that person is your son or your husband or your wife. Doesn't mean gentleness go out the door. You have to still be gentle. Henceforth, Musa had to still be gentle with Pharaoh. He was a tyrant. Allah still said, فَقُلَّ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Allah still said, say to him a word that is lay and soft in speech. You still got to be gentle. Be gentle. It gets across better to people, inshallah. Whatever we said that was incorrect is from ourselves and shaitan. Whatever said is correct from Allahu Jalla wa Ala. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallah.